Top 5 surprisingly cute photos of terrifying people. Oftentimes, images of terrifying people become so indelible in the hippocampus that it's almost unfathomable for us to think that they can be anything but. However, the 5 photos shown below prove that even the most terrifying people can still be human, or show at least some semblance of it. Number 5. Charles Manson. The psychopathic leader of the cult-like Manson family died at the end of a life sentence for masterminding the murders of several people, including Sharon Tate, who was the wife of the famous pedophile and film director Roman Polanski. What could easily have been mistaken for a young boy's mischievous grin was in fact the beginning of the facial expressions of a future madman. By the way, is it just me, or could this be mistaken for a photo of a young Tobey Maguire? Number 4. Ted Bundy. It can be said that one of the triggers that prompted Ted Bundy to become a serial killer was his resentment for his mother. Louise Cowell gave birth to Ted as an unwed mother, and though he was suspicious about it, Ted grew up believing she was his sister, and his grandparents were his biological parents. His mother eventually married John Bundy, and it was only in college that Ted found out about his true parentage. Despite what he did, his mother loved him all the way to the bitter end. Moments before he was executed, they talked on the phone and she told him, "You will always be my precious son." Number 3. Osama Bin Laden. It's hard to think of Osama Bin Laden as anything more than a radical Islamic terrorist who met his well-deserved end in 2011. After all, he was the man responsible for the attacks that resulted in the deaths of thousands, innocents who had nothing to do with his holy war. Yet, there was a time when he seemed just like any other person. Osama went on a visit to Sweden with the rest of his family when he was a teenager. Judging by that look, you'd never guess that he'd grow up to become one of the world's most notorious terrorists. Number 2. Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin became the de facto leader of the Soviet Union following the death of Lenin. To consolidate his rule, he and his followers organized massive purges in the military and imprisonment or exile of all his political opponents. It can be said the brutality of his regime goes far above that of his German rival, Adolf Hitler. Stalin's oppressive rule only got worse as time went by, such that his own family grew to loathe him. Out of his 3 children, Stalin only enjoyed the company of his daughter Svetlana. However, even that relationship deteriorated thanks to Stalin's controlling personality. Number 1. Adolf Hitler. Regarded as one of the evilest men of the last century, and deservedly so, Adolf Hitler and the Nazis orchestrated the deaths of millions of people in one of man's worst genocides, beaten out on numbers only by the socialist purges of Stalin. Surprisingly, Hitler was very fond of animals. He owned a German shepherd named Bundy, who kept him company until the closing days of the war. It is bizarre how someone who loved animals so much could also commit such atrocities against his fellow man.